The basement of the Maginot Barracks reeked of cigarette smoke and desperation. Outside, the coldest winter in European memory gripped the Ardennes. Inside, the most powerful generals of the Allied Expeditionary Force sat in stunned silence. General Dwight D. Eisenhower had just asked one question: how long would it take to redirect the Third Army north to relieve Bastogne? General George S. Patton didn't hesitate. 48 hours. I can attack with 3 divisions by December 22nd. The room erupted. British General Kenneth Strong nearly choked on his tea. Omar Bradley shook his head slowly. Eisenhower's aide would later describe the atmosphere as collective disbelief bordering on ridicule. Don't be fatuous, George, Eisenhower warned. Patton met his eyes without blinking. What Patton proposed wasn't strategy. It was apparent suicide. Rotating an entire army 90 degrees. Repositioning 133,000 men across frozen roads while German panzers encircle American paratroopers at Bastogne. Logistics officers calculated the minimum feasible time. 6 days. Patton promised 2. The clock had already started ticking, and no one except Patton believed it could be done. 3 days earlier, on December 16, 1944, Hitler launched Operation Walk am Rhein, the Third Reich's last desperate gamble. 200,000 German soldiers, supported by 600 tanks, smashed through the thinly defended Ardennes forest. The offensive created a massive bulge in Allied lines. Villages fell within hours. The 106th Infantry Division lost nearly an entire regiment in the war's largest mass surrender of American troops. But one position refused a break: Bastogne. This small Belgian crossroads town held a strategic key to everything. 7 major roads converged there, roads the Germans desperately needed to push their panzer columns toward Antwerp and split Allied forces in half. The 101st Airborne Division, hastily rushed from France, held the town. 11,000 paratroopers faced 4 full German divisions. By December 19th, they were completely encircled. No reinforcements. Dwindling ammunition. Frozen medical supplies. Surgeons operated without anesthesia. Soldiers ate snow because water froze in their canteens. Their commander, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, had just received a German surrender ultimatum. His legendary one-word response: nuts. Bought morale, but not time. Meanwhile, General Patton commanded Third Army 100 miles to the south, engaged in offensive operations around the Saar region. His forces pointed east toward Germany. What he proposed required turning them completely around, marching north over frozen roads into the teeth of the German offensive. No army in modern warfare had executed such a maneuver under combat conditions. Every general in that Verdun basement understood basic military math. The numbers didn't work. The roads couldn't handle it. The fuel wouldn't stretch. This wasn't bold. This was madness. The clock continued ticking. What no one at Verdun knew was that Patton had already begun. Days before the meeting, Colonel Oscar Koch, Patton's intelligence officer, had warned of unusual German activity in the Ardennes. While headquarters dismissed it, Patton listened. He ordered his staff to prepare 3 contingency plans, codenamed Case Blue, Case Green, and Case Yellow. Road routes were mapped. Fuel requirements calculated. Staging areas identified. By the time Patton promised 48 hours, his 4th Armored Division was already packing equipment. But preparation and execution are different beasts. The Third Army's 133,000 men began moving on December 19th at nightfall. The roads were sheets of ice. Temperatures plunged to negative 20 degrees. Vehicles slid into ditches. Engines seized from the cold. Soldiers marched through blinding snow without adequate winter clothing, many wearing summer boots wrapped in burlap. Supply convoys stretched for miles, headlights forbidden, navigating by moonlight. Military police stood at every crossroads around the clock, preventing catastrophic jams. Tankers slept in running vehicles, fearing they'd freeze to death otherwise. Meanwhile, in Bastogne, the situation deteriorated hourly. December, 20 Asterisk German forces completed the encirclement. Casualties mounted. Medical supplies ran critically low. December 21 Germans demanded surrender again. McAuliffe's response remained unchanged. Nuts. December 22 Patton's deadline. Heavy fog grounded all Allied aircraft. No aerial resupply possible. Bastone's defenders counted their remaining bullets. Patton called his chaplain, Colonel James O'Neill. "I want a prayer for good weather," Patton ordered. "If we don't get it, I'm going to have to ask God whose side he's on." O'Neill printed 250,000 prayer cards distributed to every soldier in Third Army. The clock was running out. December 22nd, 1944, 6:00 a.m. * Patton's promised deadline. The attack launched. The 4th Armored Division, under Major General Hugh Gaffey, led the assault. They faced the 5th Parachute Division and Panzerlehr, elite German units ordered to hold at all costs. The initial advance stalled immediately. German resistance at Martelange forced a costly day-long battle for a single bridge. American Sherman tanks burned on frozen fields. The 4th Armored lost 37 vehicles on December 22nd alone. Eisenhower received hourly updates with increasing concern. Staff officers began preparing statements explaining why Bastone's surrender was unavoidable. December 23rd changed everything. The weather broke. Skies cleared for the first time in weeks. 47 thunderbolts in sea. 47 transports filled the air over Bastogne. Supply drops rained down, ammunition, medical supplies, food. Paratroopers cheered as parachutes dotted the winter sky. Patton looked up and remarked, "That O'Neill sure did good work." But relief still required ground breakthrough. December 24th, Christmas Eve * Patton pushed relentlessly. Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams led his tank battalion in continuous combat for 18 hours. The fighting reduced villages to rubble: Chaumont, Warnick, Bougainville, each representing hours of brutal house-to-house combat. December 25th, Christmas Day * no holiday pause. Patton visited forward positions, distributing chocolate bars, telling exhausted men they were making history. December 26th, for 50 p.m. Lieutenant Charles Boggess, commanding the lead tank of Combat Command Reserve, spotted American paratroopers emerging from foxholes near Assinois. "Come here," Boggess shouted. "This is the 4th Armored." First Lieutenant Dwayne Webster of the 326th Airborne Engineer Battalion ran forward. "I'm Lieutenant Webster of the 101st Airborne. Damn glad to see you." The siege was broken. Behind Boggess, tanks, half-tracks, and ambulances poured into Bastogne. The wounded were evacuated. Supplies flowed in. The 101st Airborne had held, barely, long enough. Patton had delivered. 100 miles covered. Enemy forces defeated. 100,000 men reoriented. An encircled division was saved, with less than 4 hours to spare. The generals who laughed at Verdun went silent. The clock stopped. The relief of Bastogne did not end the Battle of the Bulge, but it broke its spine. Hitler's gamble depended on speed and Allied paralysis. Patton's maneuver destroyed both. Without Bastogne's road network, German logistics collapsed. Panzers ran out of fuel miles from their objectives. The offensive that was supposed to split the Allies became the Wehrmacht's death spiral. The human cost was staggering. The Third Army suffered over 12,000 casualties during the relief operation. The 4th Armored Division alone lost over 1,100 men. Frozen bodies dotted Belgian fields, often undiscovered until spring. But the alternative, Bastogne's fall, would have extended the war by months, costing hundreds of thousands of additional lives. Eisenhower later wrote, "The relief of Bastogne is the most outstanding achievement of this campaign." No mention of his earlier skepticism. German General Otto von Manchefeld admitted, "Patton's speed was unexpected. We calculated American response in weeks, not days. This cost us the offensive." Patton remained characteristically immodest. "The relief of Bastogne is the most brilliant operation we have yet performed." But amid the boasting, he visited hospitals. He wrote personal letters to families of fallen soldiers. He wept at graves he would never publicly acknowledge. The impossible had become inevitable. because one general saw preparation where others saw chaos, opportunity where others saw catastrophe, and victory where others saw only madness. Today, the relief of Bastogne is studied at West Point, Sandhurst, and St. Cyr. It stands as a definitive example of operational flexibility, proof that prepared minds create their own possibilities. But the deeper lesson transcends tactics. In that Verdun basement, every logical calculation suggested failure. The mathematics didn't work. Every senior commander knew this, and every senior commander was wrong. What they dismissed as madness was vision backed by preparation. Patton hadn't gambled on luck. He had anticipated the crisis, created contingencies, and acted decisively when others deliberated. A good plan violently executed now, Patton wrote, is better than a perfect plan executed next week. At Bastogne, he proved it. The men of the 101st Airborne, who held against impossible odds, and the men of the 4th Armored, who fought through impossible conditions, shared something beyond courage. They trusted leadership that trusted them. That trust forged in frozen foxholes and burning tanks, saved thousands of lives and shortened history's deadliest war. Sometimes, what looks like madness is simply a vision that others cannot yet see. The clock, finally, was still